today I'm with Aaron, and he just kind of shot me a thank you note on my social media, and I just kind of reached out to him and said, "Hey, are you available for a quick Zoom call?" Because he was kind of expressing, "Hey, I'm so thankful. I want to provide a testimonial and give some feedback of my experience, and hope that it might help other men save their marriages and their relationships." And so today I'm with Aaron. He and his wife had kind of been through some troubles and had some ups and downs, and I think some marriage things that didn't work that they tried. Aaron, first of all, I just kind of want to talk to you a little bit about what so many men are going through, that I went through, on what are all the things that you tried that ultimately led you down a path where your wife was getting ready to file for a divorce and already had another boyfriend and had moved out, basically, from what I remember. Kind of like, what were some of the things that you guys tried that didn't work for you?
Well, honestly, at first we tried to do self-help. We tried these programs, different programs online that we could. And then finally we took the plunge. We did marriage counseling for a little bit over a year. It wasn't cheap.
Okay, wow, a year. Okay.
Yeah. And the thing about it is you're meeting every single time at this marriage counselor, and you're discussing the problems and the issues that you guys are having, which is okay, it's good, but that led to more problems that we talked about and discovered, and then that led to more fighting. And honestly, it was a year of fighting. It was terrible. At wit's end.
What led to the fighting? Are you saying like the marriage counseling that you were going through?
Yeah. So what happened is that we were discussing the issues that we were having, and then we were discovering more issues, and that led to more argument. And it was like constant fighting at the sessions, then fighting on the way home, and fighting at home, and then silence. It just, it really didn't help. If anything, I even made it worse. So
I remember when you first enrolled in the program, you had brought that up and kind of brought up the cost factor of that was a little stressful on the relationship as well. Like where did that go?
Yeah. So as I was saying, it's not cheap. It's a lot of time, and it felt like, honestly, I was paying to fight. I was paying to fight with my wife. It was and like when you're already dealing with something that's so heart-wrenching, in your heart, in your mind, you're just willing to throw money at whatever can save it. So at that point, like,
it's your family.
Yeah, it's the family, it's your wife, it's the kids, it's the home that you took years to establish, and that I was stressing out every day. I couldn't focus on work. You try to hide it from the kids, but they see that you're not happy. Finally, like, she did eventually end up leaving, and took the kids, and she ended up finding a new guy in her life, and that was probably one of the lowest crushing moments of my life, where I thought,
were you guys separated at that point?
Yeah, we were separated in total for about 6 months.
Okay. This was after you did the marriage counseling and it didn't work, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so what was the turning factor? Like when you found Divorce Stoppers, I did your enrollment call, and to find out, make sure that you were coachable and somebody that we could actually get results for. When you started going through the program, what the program is a 7-week program, and we give you the option to keep going through that until you get the results. But for you, I remember there was a little bit of resistance in the beginning, and also there was like this aha moment where there was a pivot in your actions, in your attitude. And when I would see you like in our Facebook group, I noticed that your comments kind of changed a little bit. And then that's kind of when I started seeing maybe that there was some things stirring that might be having a little bit of results with the modules, that as you were pacing through those. At what point did you start seeing like, wow, in the beginning, I know she told you there was no hope and that she wanted a divorce and she wasn't changing her mind. At what point did you see that, well, maybe that's just a story she's telling me, that there might be some hope for it? At what stage in the program did you start seeing that there could be some light at the end of your tunnel?
Well, to begin, like, I gotta apologize again to you. I know it was really hard at first to work with. I was
A
really
little bit.
upset, super skeptical, because what had happened with the 1 year wasted of arguing with this marriage counselor and all that. And yeah, I'd say it was probably about within like a month and a half, a point where I started to think, okay, well, like maybe I am kind of messing up here. It wasn't easy to really look deep and search like the stuff that I was doing wrong too. I
I
think that
actually remember. I actually remember you commenting. It was at the end of your second week in the program when you started seeing hope. If I remember correctly, you guys got reunited.
yeah,
Like she moved back at,
yeah,
wasn't it like 6 weeks? That's when you guys actually. I mean, that's a for anybody on here that's kind of watching this testimonial. That's not untypical. I mean, obviously, you want the work to continue after that because it's
oh yeah,
our goal is not to just get your wife back and manipulate her into getting, to you getting what you want. Our goal is for you to have an amazing marriage with somebody that loves you and that you love back for the rest of your life. But you really saw results at the end of the second week, if I remember correctly. And you were resistant in the beginning. I'll tell you
oh
this
yeah, oh yeah,
today, as you know, it's really important to us to only bring men in that are coachable, like they're ready to listen and walk through the steps. If I had you on a coaching call today, I don't know, like maybe there was an angel that was kind of nudging me to go ahead and give you a chance, because today I don't even know if I would bring you on as a
oh no,
client.
yeah.
I'm glad
I
I'm
was
glad I
difficult.
took the
Yeah,
risk,
yeah,
because I thought about booting you out of the program because I didn't know if you were going to actually be coachable and listen to us. But
yeah.
so it was 6 weeks before she dumped the boyfriend and moved back in, and you continued to work in the program. So what was the pivotal moment where she saw the change, and how did this work in 6 weeks for you as far as getting her to move back in? And even though you did choose to continue going through the program again and again because you kept seeing results, right? But what was that transition where she had an aha moment? Wow, I'm gonna get rid of my boyfriend and move back in with my husband with our kids together. Like what was what did she say?
She honestly said, like, I'm telling you, it wasn't like a sudden switch that I could say. It took progress. And that's the thing with this program, it takes progress. It probably would be faster for other people, but for me, I was really resistant at first, taking it slow and not wanting to accept some of the coaching and teaching you were giving me, just because I felt like I wasn't in the wrong. And it wasn't until that I said, okay, you know what? I've tried every single thing. Here you go. Denver, this is it. Like, I'll let you have it as it is. And that's
Right.
when I started seeing results, when I started accepting the teachings that you were giving, accepting the coaching, and finally thinking, okay, well, maybe these things are things that I haven't really discussed to you about, that I was kind of hiding about too, that
Right.
just in theory surfaced it. I don't want to go too deep into what the
Right.
stuff I was going through because they're a bit personal. But I'll tell you what, like, you really have a lot of patience, a very amount of patience, because I was very unhappy, and I was really projecting that to everything. With when you were talking, when we were talking, I was really upset and broken, and
Yeah, and
you just have a lot
one
of
of the
patience.
things that I remember what you're talking about a little bit is I remember, so in addition to the modules that I teach, every single day, all the way through the several weeks of the program, just want to remind our clients that as I'm going through the modules, if there's something that I'm not answering that's unique to your situation or that you feel like, it'll
Yeah,
eventually be covered. But I remember that your first week you scheduled a live call with me because you felt like I wasn't answering some of your stuff. And on
oh
that phone
yes,
call,
oh yes,
it seems like I saw maybe even a little bit of a pivot where you're talking about that I'm patient. Was I just want to let our viewers know that, in addition to the modules that we're teaching, proven step by steps that clearly have worked for you, but how was it also to know that you had availability to me unlimited if needed, where every week you could schedule those calls? And I remember there was a couple of calls where you actually were doing the one-on-one calls with me. Do you feel like that made a difference compared to some other things that you tried also that weren't successful?
Absolutely. There's one thing that I felt was that you can go to group lessons, group therapy lessons, I'll call them that, and then it's like you each have this nice emotional support because a lot of us are going through similar things, but there's a need where you just have to have that one-on-one time where you just have to dive deep and say, hey, look, man, like I didn't really get what you were saying with this, or you didn't address this topic. And
Yeah.
having that availability, it means the world, because now you're not just waiting another week for another, you know, whole bunch of people talking and asking questions, but now it's just finally one-on-one. You can answer all my questions directly. We can dive deep. You can deal with a lot of the crap I have to throw at you at. And you know, that really helped a lot. Just knowing that I can call you and schedule that meeting, that was a very good support right there.
Yeah.
Knowing that you
And
can
to
hear it directly
clarify,
from the.
yeah, just to clarify too, for all of our viewers, our one-on-ones, they're still made available, like for everybody can benefit from it, but you do have the opportunity to schedule one-on-one calls with me that we share with the group. And the great thing that I like about that is when we do those one-on-one calls is that I may have like 5 or 6 guys or sometimes more on the one-on-one calls, but we all get to benefit from the answer because if you have a one-on-one question with me and I do that with you and we do that live, that is so beneficial to everybody else because they may be struggling with that same issue, but they forget to ask the question or they don't ask that question on their call or whatever. So that benefits everybody in the group. And the reason that I implemented that into the program is because, you know, I was having some marriage issues and that was something that I felt that I needed trying to figure out as I was building this program in the process of restoring my marriage with my wife, going through the same thing after cancer treatment. We that's when we implemented that. And whenever my marriage was restored with this same process, we just said, this is a no-brainer. Like this was when before I was doing marriage coaching with couples, my wife and I do that together and we still do that. Where both people are wanting to go through a program that's result oriented. But in this program, you know, there's so many men that the couple's not willing to go through it like you. And I was in your shoes. And once I became in your shoes, I realized that this is the missing element that can actually help us hold ourselves accountable, where it's a community of other men and being live and speaking one-on-one with you lets you know I have a vested interest. Like I know you, I know what you're going through. I care about it. I know how you're feeling because I have felt it. And I have a vested interest in you getting the result that you want of restoring your family, especially when children are involved. I mean, it doesn't always have to do that but you know, regardless of your situation, even if you don't have biological children together, you formed attachments to her children, or, you know, in my case, I have 5 grandchildren, even at my age. And so I had formed attachments to my step grandchildren. They didn't know I was their step grandfather. And so just, you know, reconciling can avoid so much heartache, not just for the couple, but for the kids and for like the in-laws and the grandkids and, you know, the legacy that comes because, you know, a lot of times if you decide to get a divorce and move forward in that direction, especially when children are involved, you leave that legacy to those children. And if you're in your second marriage or third or fourth or fifth, they've already got that legacy that's already been dealt to them. Who in the family line is going to stand up and say, I stand for a successful marriage? Because I know like some of the things that you had even told me that I went through myself is if I can't make this marriage work and realize there's some things that I can change to, I can tell you this, if I see something in my wife that needs to be changed, the last person on planet Earth that's going to change her is me.
Yeah.
But what I can do that evokes her to want to change is change myself. And that's attractive to her. And something that's attractive, everybody wants it. And that invokes her to change. And that's kind of like a little bit like, so when you started the evolution of changing you, instead of going to tell her what she needed to do and what you wanted, that's when you saw a transition in your wife was you weren't even trying to get her back. You were focused on changing yourself and she saw that and asked to come back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I hear this story every single week, and I love it when guys want to share that, because it's so encouraging for all of the men that are out there that truly think that what their wife is telling them, that, you know, they're hard-headed. She's saying, I'm out, I'm not changing my mind, and she's making it believable, especially when she moves in with another guy or has a boyfriend or something like that. Like, you really believe it then, right? And you
Oh
start
yeah.
to think there is no hope. But I'm here to tell people, and you're here to tell people, there's
Yeah.
always hope if you're coachable.
Yeah.
Always.
Oh yeah, yeah. And what I like about it too is that you've also been through the same thing. So I'm not getting advice from a marriage counselor who's never been through divorce, who's never
Yeah.
been through somebody leaving them, and that just means the world, because we already have like a level playing field where you know what I'm going through. You know the emotions that I'm dealing with. You know the sadness, the anger, the frustration, the heartache. You've dealt with it already. And that's
Yep.
what makes it truly amazing.
You know, also, before I started this program, I looked to kind of see what else is out there that would be in the way of even remotely similar to it. And there's a program out there. It's a real big popular one where there's some guy that left his wife like 15 years ago, and now he wants to talk about that. And you know, great people, but share something on limerence. And I actually reached out to them at one point for some help. And I'm not going to say who it is, but I think they have great intentions and great hearts. But in my first marriage, my ex-wife of 25 years, I was married to her for 25 years, she had limerence. And limerence is just the idea of, well, they're not really in love with them, that eventually that'll fade and they'll want to come back to you. Well, my ex-wife is married to her limerence. So you can't always count on limerence to save your marriage, because it sure as heck didn't save mine. But so looking at that program, you know, that's who's available. Somebody that maybe they don't have the same vested interest, or they haven't been through exactly what you've been through. Or
Yeah.
like another program out there is you know, some guy that's not even married, that's out there trying to teach. Here I am, you know, like, I've been through it. I've been divorced, remarried. I know what a blended family is like. I know what my second marriage, like, even though we had started a marriage coaching company that was successful, then I ended up with stage 4 throat cancer, and it was really hard on our marriage because for 2 years it stole our marriage. And we got through that and didn't know how to navigate the waters back. And, you know, a lot of that was induced by medicine that made my anger flare. But,
Mm-hmm.
and there were so many things that went with that. But when you have resentment, no matter the reason on both sides, there's a process. How do you work through that? The first step is actually seeing that you have resentment that you may not even know that you have, that's coming out in your attitude and your heart. And I think that's one of the biggest things that so many men struggle with, that they don't even see it, because we're always too close to our own situation to see what the fixing is for the solution to the problem. And, you know, that's one of the things that we've done in Divorce Stoppers with this program. Through each module, we unwrap the mirror so you can see yourself. And then that's when it invokes change. And yeah, we do implement in the beginning. There are some tools that I like to call, I don't like fake it till you make it. But when I'm dealing with men that have children and their wife has filed a divorce and they're about to be splitting assets, there are some psychological tactics that we employ. And in the beginning, they're not sincere. They can't be, you know, on day 3, but they're necessary to speed up the process of what she's thinking and what she's doing to slow down or stop or halt the divorce. But the program is not a fake it till you make it course. We give you some things to try up front that you employ that work, and it gets fast results. But the reason that the modules go through week 7 is because we're not in the business to manipulate wives or women to come back to their men. We're in the business to change the heart of the man to the point that it's so genuine and sincere that it lasts a lifetime. And for the rest of your life, you're a man that your wife would never leave you in a million years, because you're few and far between. Like, you're in the 1% of the 1% club. And we teach how to be what I call a real man. Like, that's what I call a man, is somebody that his wife feels so safe that she can tell you anything, And instead of you judging or, telling her she's wrong or telling her you don't want it that way, you always take that as an opportunity to, wow, she just opened the door to her heart and let me see it. How do I learn from that? And that's
Yeah.
what makes it safe for her. And she'll always come back to that, because that is a strong, manly man that can get in a situation to do that. And just understanding the different roles between a husband and wife, and how do you work that dynamic out, that you're equal, but you have different roles and they're both equally important. But I thank you so much, Aaron, for sharing your story about your home being reconciled. Especially my heart burns for every man that's going through this, that they've tried so much stuff. They don't know what to do. They're hurting like hell. And they think their wife's living the high hog, even though she's got another boyfriend. Maybe she's really not. She's in pain too. And here's the unfortunate thing. If you give up on your marriage, men that are listening to this, you might be thinking that there's some Instagram posts out there that'll say, if you really love her, let her go. No, that's bullshit. Because what's going to happen is, if your marriage fails, so does hers. And if her marriage fails, statistically, her next marriage just increased like tenfold the likely that the next one's going to fail, and the next one's going to fail. And usually neither one ends up better off for that. And so I think that if you really love her, the last thing that you should do is let her go. You should go through a program that'll give you a life transformation to make you the most amazing, manly husband out there, that is the safest environment for a woman to live in, and attract her back, so she doesn't have to go through the same horseshit with some other guy that's going to be a jerk, that won't take the initiative to man up and go through something like this to fix the situation and change the legacy for everybody's sake, So do you agree with that statement, that if you really love her, go through a coaching program that will make you be the person that she needs and attract her back, because that's in her best interest too.
100%. You've honestly saved my marriage, my life, my kids, everything. I really owe it to you.
Speaking of your kids, how has your relationship with your children changed now that you've been through these modules and the coaching?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's changed.
I don't have much. My wife's waiting up here for me to have lunch. I don't have much time, but will you share just a little bit about that before we go, Aaron?
Sure. So, like I said, like it's a year that we went through of hell, and you try to hide it from the kids, but the kids, they know that you guys are fighting, and of course that's reflected on them. And then with the tension that's going on between me and my wife at the time, that's getting reflected on the kids. We're short-tempered. We're easily annoyed. We were fighting with each other, and then we're also yelling at the kids. And of course, after this, you not only have to heal. This is the thing. Not like a lot of people realizing this stuff, but when you're going through divorce, it's not only with your wife. There's arguments with the kids. And what this program did for me was that I was able to become a better person for my wife, re-attract her back, gain her trust, gain her confidence. And with that too, with the kids. The kids, they see relationships with how you deal with your wife. That's the first thing that they see. It's so close to them. It's at home. When they see that I'm treating her differently, and now we're treating each other differently, they see happiness, and they gets pushed on them and reflected on them. So that helps a lot too.
So outside of the kids seeing the relationship evolve into something beautiful with your wife, was there an evolution with the relationship with your actual children because of how you changed?
Oh, definitely. I'm more patient. They talk to me more now. We're more open too. We can discuss things which we haven't been able to before.
Right.
If they're going through, if one of them, I'll tell you one thing. So one of my kids was getting bullied at school, and he was able to talk to me about it. I remember when I was a kid, I couldn't even talk to my own father about that. There was no way. But now, because we're at this level that we're slowly growing and progressing, we're being more open with each other.
With your children.
Program, oh yeah, it's not a program that's only going to change the relationship with your wife, but also with your kids, because that, I call it, it's kind of like getting splashed by the water. You know, when you go to SeaWorld and you get splashed, it's not only that, but it's a good thing. It's refreshing. It's good. It changes things.
I love that you said that I remember I got bullied some in school too. I would never tell my dad that I got bullied.
Oh,
And
no.
I can think of like in my first marriage that ended after 25 years or 22 years, 23. And then in this marriage that I'm in now for just over a decade. I want to give you an additional gift in addition to this free content. I want to offer you step 1 to begin the process of saving your marriage and getting your wife back, restoring your family with your lady. I want you to go to denvergriffin.com and register for my free masterclass. At the end of that free masterclass, just for a special thank you for attending that, I'm going to offer you a special discounted rate for an opportunity to work with me. If you need the additional help, time is of the essence in many cases. Go to denvergriffin.com today. About to be over a decade. I actually had both spouses say, "You bully me a little bit." And I never actually saw that about myself. But I saw going through the program also where my kids just opened up and started sharing stuff with me that they had never shared with me. Like it was like a dad relationship, and they knew that I worked all the time. And that was of course before I started marriage coaching. But it was just a beautiful thing to have the intimacy of the relationship with my children too. And that's one of the things I don't really advertise in this program, but I hear that same story over and over about not only is it fixing your marriage and giving you something beautiful, it's changing the dynamic that you'll end up having with your grandchildren and your step grandchildren someday, because the relationship is so much more intimate with your own kids. So it really does not only just change your life and your wife's life, or your girlfriend if you have a long-term lover, but it also changed the life of everybody in your legacy and your downline, like children, grandchildren, and stuff like that. So that's just a beautiful thing. But Aaron, listen, I appreciate you DMing me with the gratitude. Of course, we always love hearing the success stories. I want to hear that. And it's so encouraging to me to keep doing this. This is my passion, is to change people's lives, because I know that, when it changes your home life, it also changes your work life. And I love the testimonials that I get from people that are entrepreneurs. I attract a lot of entrepreneurs because I'm an entrepreneur, where they talk about their business has scaled from 5 figures to 6 figures, from 6 figures to 7 figures, and so on, because of what it's done in their marriage. And, they apply those same principles with their children and in their business relationships. And it's just a new way of being, but it's just a beautiful thing. Thank you for taking your time and making the sacrifice to share this, that it might help other people. And I will look forward to talking to you soon on the inside, my friend.
Sounds good. Thanks again, Denver. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you for hopping on this call with me. I appreciate it very much.
For sure. See you.
All right. Bye now.